All right. I want to talk about this a little bit because I've been watching some of the people who were really gung-ho about 9/23/2025 being the day of the rapture. And I wanted to see their response afterwards, and I saw some of them apologizing that they got caught up in this, and I can respect that because, it's the art of the deal, right? You believe it because you want to believe it. And I'm not going to lie, I was hoping these people were right. I was actually disappointed, even though deep down I knew it wasn't the day. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted them to be right. So when the time passed, I was actually kind of bummed out. I really was, and I thought that was weird. I was like, man, I knew it wasn't the day, and it didn't happen, but I'm still a little bit bummed out about that. And yeah, what are you gonna do, right? A bit weird, right? But anyway, I was watching some of them and what they had to say, and some of them were thinking it was messed up about how many people mocked them and how quick they were to start mocking them that they weren't raptured. And a lot of these people were Christians that were mocking them that it wasn't the day. And I understand that, I don't want to mock these people who believe that this was the day. I want them to smarten up and not do it again, right? That's the thing. Look for the rapture, watch for the signs. But are you going to do this again? Are you going to pick another day? Are you going to not realize how you felt when this was wrong? And are you not going to pay attention to the effect it had on others? Pay attention to the effect that had on others that you influenced, that you were trying to convince that this was the day, and it wasn't. How disappointed they were. Remember the effect you had on others. Not to mention that, were there any unbelievers that started paying attention when you were saying, 9/23, and now that it didn't happen, they seem to be more bold in their mocking in their worldliness, right? And now it's a lot harder for you even to talk to them because all they can see you as is the guy who said the rapture was on 9/23 and it wasn't. So they have no respect for you. They don't care about anything you have to say. So now it's a lot more difficult to get to them, the gospel to them, right? Remember that. Another thing I want to say is that a lot of these people, they're still saying, well, something big was going on at that day. And they'll say something like, well, just like a week or two before that, you had what happened with Charlie Kirk, and, you got to see people's true spirits when this thing happened, where it didn't happen, and you got to see how they acted and all this. And it was like, they were trying to find, I guess what you would say, confirmation bias, where they still want to say, well, something still happened. Well, Charlie Kirk didn't get taken out on 9/23, right? That didn't happen on that day, right? It happened before. Yeah, it was close, but it wasn't on that day, right? So, and people mocking you for it not happening on that day, that doesn't prove that something happened on that day other than you had a false belief of something happening on that day, and people mocked you for it, right? If you didn't say something was going to happen on that day, then nothing would have happened. It would just be another day because nothing extraordinary happened on this day, right? Or on the 24th. Just basically 2 normal days, just like the 22nd, just like the 25th, right? No different. And so I was seeing a lot of them had this confirmation bias, like they didn't want to admit they were wrong. They didn't want to eat the humble pie, where they were saying sorry, not sorry kind of thing. And one of the biggest things I was seeing is that a lot of these people who are saying, the Joshua fellow who's saying, oh, this is definitely the day, 1,000,000,000% sure, right? Stuff like that. And people were saying, oh, I got all this confirmation. I believe the Lord is confirming that this is when it's going to happen because of this and that and the other thing that's going on, right? I keep seeing 9/23, right? God's confirming it. God's confirming it. Acting like God's talking to them, right? And then some of them are saying, well, hey, don't get discouraged. You were hearing from God. And it's like, seriously? Seriously. and talking about, oh, we just need to encourage one another and all this. And it's like, some of you are saying you heard directly from God. Some of you are saying you're getting these signs and confirmation from God. And then it doesn't happen, and you still think God was talking to you. And you need to comfort one another. That's disturbing, right? Like they're not learning. They're ignoring the fact that they thought they were hearing from God, and they were led astray, and they don't want to admit this. They can't admit it to themselves. And that's scary, because that just means there's a good chance they're going to mess up and do this kind of thing again. Right? And that's one of the things I wanted to point out here, is to get these people to eat the humble pie, to realize, because we've all done it, whether it had to do with the rapture or something else. We believe something because we wanted it to be true. That's the whole thing of the art of the deal. You get someone to do the deal because you make it sound way better than it really is, and people will believe it because they want to believe it's true, right? And you all believe 9/23 was going to be the day because you wanted it to be true. But ever since my wife passed, I know that I got rapture fever, so I want to believe it's going to happen today, right? But I know this about myself, and I know how human nature is. I know we're going to want to believe things because we want it to be true, not because it actually is true. So I was extra critical of these things, looking deep into it, because I don't want to deceive myself and then deceive others just because I want it to be true. And I was warning people of how our minds are, and they didn't listen. I gave all this stuff about how we were a month early and all this stuff. Nobody cared. Even the people who knew how the calendar worked didn't pay attention. And they got like double down, triple down on this stuff. There's even people selling their cars, selling homes, getting rid of all kinds of stuff. Like they were gung-ho about this going to happen. And it didn't. Now, this is what sucks right here, is that because of their false prophecy, I've had people commenting to me telling me, oh, why are you still here? Right? I have this video here where I'm talking about 9/23/2025, and there's probably going to be people leaving comments here talking about, oh, what, you think it's going to be another day? Right? They're not going to listen to the fact that I never said the rapture was going to happen on this day. I was warning people that it wasn't going to happen on this day. Right? But since I'm Christian and I believe in the rapture, I'm associated with you guys now. So you made it a lot harder for me to reach other people, because when they see me, they see you. The guy and gal who made the false prophecy here. Whether you were saying it was of the Lord or not, or thus saith the Lord or not, you were still hyping this up. And now other people like us who are actually trying to get the gospel to people are hindered now because of it. Right? How am I going to talk to these people who are not even listening when I say I never even said the rapture was going to happen on this day? Right? They've already blocked me off and put up a brick wall that I can't get past, because this is all they see. And they see, oh, this guy's making a video trying to justify why it didn't happen. That's not what I'm doing, right? But, I got to deal with that now because of all you. Even though I spent pretty much a year trying to tell you guys the calendar was a month off and all that stuff. And but what, comes with the territory. And yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that sucks about this whole thing. But what else does is these people, they themselves, they believe the gospel, and they're trying to reach others with the gospel. And now they are going to have even more of a rougher time trying to reach people with the truth. Right? There's a lot of people where I actually like their channels because they actually put out a lot of good information and they preach the gospel. And they do it very well. But now, they just hindered that Because now a lot of people can be like, oh yeah, that was that channel, that was that guy, that was that gal who was saying that this was the rapture and it didn't happen. So they're just going to laugh and walk off on that one. And I can't blame them. Even when you were saying that, hey, I'm not saying this is the day could pass, but it looks like it could be, right? You're giving a mixed signal. Like, I really think this is the day, but I don't want to really say for sure. I'm getting all this confirmation from God. I keep seeing the 923. Like, look at these confirmations that I see in the newspaper on these pictures and in dreams and all over the place and all this stuff. I'm seeing this confirmation. Oh, you're saying God's confirming it, but it's not the day. It could not be the day. You see that you're giving mixed signals there? You're speaking with that serpentine forked tongue there. Like, which is it? Is it confirmation from God? Or is it just you maybe thinking it could be that day and you want it to be, so you keep seeing 923 wherever you look? Because you're actually consciously, subconsciously looking for that. Could that be it? I don't know. Right? And yeah, they think they can say things like that. Like, hey, I'm getting confirmation. From who? From God, right? So even though you're not saying, thus saith the Lord, God told me this, you're saying, well, in different ways, he's confirming it by giving me all these signs for it, right? So in other words, it's basically saying, thus saith the Lord, but at the same time, you're saying, well, the day could pass. I mean, it could be another day, and if it's another day, we'll just keep on keeping on, right? You can't say things like that and think there's no consequences to it and then get upset when people mock you and say, oh, they got a horrible, wretched spirit. Well, that's like saying Elijah has a horrible, wretched spirit for mocking the prophets of Baal. By mocking them, he just had a wretched spirit. No. You just don't want to deal with the consequences of what you said. Right? It's kind of like those people who would say something horrible to you, and then they'll say something at the end like, well, just saying. Right? They say that at the end of like spitting in your face, metaphorically speaking. And they'll say, well, just saying. Right? As if that makes it what they said okay. Right? You can't call them out for saying it. You can't backlash on them because they're just saying, they're just saying. That's basically what you're doing. And I see a lot of them doing that. Like they don't understand what they said. I'm getting confirmation. You're basically saying, thus saith the Lord. God's confirming this to me. I was praying to God for confirmation. And I got 923. I got this in a dream. I got this in a picture. I got this was the exact time I woke up or went to bed or whatever, right? I keep seeing that 923. 923, 923. After I prayed to God for an answer. So you're saying God told you. And you don't realize what you're saying or doing, apparently. Well, I didn't say, thus saith the Lord. You did. You did. You just tried to cover it up because you knew you could be wrong and you weren't really hearing from God. You just wanted it to be true. So even though some of these people may actually truly believe the gospel and being born again, they have to look in the mirror and eat humble pie and really ask themselves about their relationship with God and ask Him, Lord, if I'm really close to you and we have this relationship and I ask you for this confirmation, like, how did I get caught up in this deception? How did I get fooled by this? Right? Because now with these people, I'm questioning their relationship with God, because how would they get deceived by this? They don't realize how much this has actually hindered their witness. Because even a lot of these people, like I said, I like them. Like one of the ones I liked the most was Live by Faith Ministries. They got really caught up into this nonsense. Right? Where they were saying, oh, I prayed and I got the confirmation. Right? Well, you're basically saying that's a thus saith the Lord then. And now, Even though I like the stuff they're putting out outside of this nonsense about 923, I don't look at them the same. Like, wow, I thought they were closer to God than they really were. Because if they are praying for confirmation and that they got this 923 and they were really thinking that was the time, well, if they were so close to God, why did God let them to be deceived like that? Why did they think that was a confirmation to their prayer? It means they don't seem to have the discernment to discern God's still small voice leading and guidance and spirit. Right? There's something there. There's something going on. I wonder what the problem is. All right? And it sucks. Like, I actually feel bad for him. Because I know I feel a bit disappointed, even though I knew deep down it wasn't the day. But I feel bad that they have to go through this. And they may generally wanted Jesus to come back, and they generally want to reach people with the gospel. But they just muck that up. I'm not saying they should stop their ministries or anything like that. I'm just saying that it's going to suck because now they just put a bunch of weeds and tares all around them, and they just gave ammunition to the enemy to shoot at them. And now they're going to have to take cover, and they're going to have to try to do everything they were trying to do now while getting constantly fired at by the enemy. Where this is a constant distraction, where anytime now that they would say something that's true about, hey, there's some confirmation about Jesus returning soon, people are just going to mock him and scoff him now. Even if what they're saying is true. Like, let's say Israel started building the third temple. That means we're going home soon. All right? We got to be going home. The temple's being built. And people are just going to be like, yeah, like 923. Ha, 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 ha. And they're going to have to deal with that. They ruin their witness. And a lot of them don't want to accept that. Not that they should stop witnessing. But now they're going to have to deal with the muddied water. And then, yeah. I think I'm done rambling. Because I'm just going to be saying the same things over and over about, like, if they're so close to God, how do they get caught up into this nonsense, right? That's the thing that got me, because I was like, I think these people genuinely believe the gospel. They genuinely want Jesus to come back. So what's wrong with their relationship with God where they got caught up in this? And saying they got confirmation from God and all this other stuff. How did that happen? You know, all things work out to the good of those that trust in God, that love God, right? So I think ultimately this is going to be used to these genuine people who truly believe. I think this is going to be used to humble them, right? And to work on them. I think it's going to separate the wheat from the tares, because the true, genuine believers are going to still be looking and watching, like I am. All right? I even had a comment of somebody saying, I'm sick of all this talk about this Jesus where he just always seems to be a no-show. And I was like, wow. Well, Jesus didn't say he was going to show up at that time, so he's not a no-show. It's just people making false claims about him showing up and expecting him to do so, right? And it's like, no, I'm still going to be watching and waiting. But, I think some people, they're going to fall away. And I think others, they're going to get a bit shaken up here. Chiseled and shaped a little better. All right, like, what's his name? From the Live by Faith Ministries guy, he was saying that when it didn't happen, like, some truth about himself was revealed about his nature and how he was and how he has stuff to work on. I don't know, because some things he said he didn't and did apparently. I don't know, maybe he got upset about the mockers. I don't know. But he was saying, yeah, I got things to work on there. And it was kind of like, that's good that you can see that, there's things that need to be worked on. But we're always going to need that while we're in the flesh, right? So if God's going to come today, I can't say that I'm ready. I'm ready, but I'm not ready, right? I'm ready because let's get the heck out of here, right? But at the same time, if, I'm going to be judged for my life, not for salvation, but just on rewards and everything, I'm not ready. But I'm not sure if I'll ever be ready, because even though God's working on me and, I get stronger in the spirit, I'm not perfect and I mess up all the time. So I'm also adding crap onto my good works every day. Right? I make a video. Let's say this video is actually reaching people and doing some good, right? Well, I also got to deal with my own personal sinful heart and mind, with my thoughts and words and deeds, where I'm adding dog crap onto all my good works every day. So I'm never going to be ready. So it's just like, just take me home. Because, yeah, maybe I won't be doing any good anymore if you just take me home. But I'm also not adding dog crap to all of it either. Right? So you got to look at it both ways. So to be like, oh, I wouldn't have been ready if it was on 9/23. Who cares? What do you mean ready? Like, there's stuff to work on. You don't need to work on anything. Right? I'm coming to God as I am. Right? Even if I just got saved right now and I was one of those Jeffrey Dahmer kind of freaks, take me home. Yeah, I'm not ready to meet you face to face, but I'm coming to you as I am. Let's go. We don't have to sit here and work on me here while I'm on the earth. No, let's just put the body to death. Let's go. Right? So I thought that was a little weird thing to say. But yeah. It's also going to be hindrance to some of these people because they were doing these things. They were getting so much attention, and they were actually getting financial support by these things. And now I think some of that's going to dry up. Some of them are actually starting to do this as a living, like making the videos, right? I would like to be able to do that. But the last couple months, I made $4. So it's not very promising, right? So, yeah. I think it's going to be worse for them because I think they were actually kind of dependent on it. But, yeah, that's why I ask for your prayers. I don't want to sit here and try to squeeze you out of the money you're being given to these people. So, at least pray for me, all right? So anyway, I'm done rambling. Thank you for your time and attention. I appreciate it. Just wanted to pour my heart out a little bit here and address what these people are saying. Some of them even saying things like, well, maybe it's 7, 8, or 8 days later. And it's like, oh, okay. I don't know why you say that, but not because it has to do with the Feast of Atonement, but just because stuff, right? Another reason to not admit that you were wrong and to admit the truth about your relationship with God, that something's off there. Something's definitely off. I would like to think that if I did something like this, that I would have the humility to come to God and be like, why'd you lead me astray? That's the first thing I would say. Like, I prayed to you for confirmation and I got this 9/23 thing, so why wasn't it 9/23? You made me look like a fool. Why'd you do that to me? All right, that's what I'd be coming to God with. Like, what's going on here? But, yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. I'll see you in the next one, and may God bless you and yours.